Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on the DIB dive. We are not live. Well, right now we're live, but by the time you see this, you're
You
not.
and I are,
We are. We are
but to
definitely
them,
live.
it's like time
Yeah.
travel.
It is. It is. It's like
Hello,
Inception because
future you
yeah.
guys watching past us.
Whoa. Yes. Oh, you're right. I wonder if they can comment and we'll see it now.
Only if we've resolved quantum computing. If so,
Okay.
yes. So if they get quantum computers tomorrow, we should be able to,
Okay. All right. Okay. Do I
or
need
something like
MFA
that.
for
I don't,
that?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, it's gonna break MFA,
Oh.
so it's just gonna be your. Who knows?
All
All
right.
bets are off.
Okay. Well then. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We are Allison Giddens and Andy Sauer, and we are
Clearly, some very
here
serious people.
obviously coming to you from a Monday evening. We have lots going on, and Andy's going to share more about that shortly. But we figured we'd share some thoughts on what's happening in the DIB. What do you think?
Yeah. No, it's. I'm sorry, everyone. It's become something of a trend that either I'm not here or I'm telling Allison relatively last minute, like I kind of need to pre-record the episode for tomorrow, uh, because I'm going to be somewhere tomorrow where I'm just not super confident in the access to quality Wi-Fi that's going to produce a good stream, and I hate for people to listen in as my audio is cutting out, my videos freezing, and all that. So figured we'd pre-record so we can at least have a good conversation. Tomorrow or today, while you're watching this, I'll be at AFCEA TechNet up in Baltimore, Maryland. AFCEA TechNet's their massive tech conference, and I'll be moderating a panel of emerging leaders. We'll be talking about zero trust architecture as a way of building supply chain security. So a lot of the topics that we talk about here, but I'll be just the moderator supporting this phenomenal cast of characters I have.
Just
Well,
the
I feel
moderator.
when I'm moderating, my goal is to like set everyone up with some not softballs necessarily, but toss a ball up and let them knock it out of the park, and
Moderating's hard.
rather it is. I had to kind of figure out who all is who, their personalities a little bit, what they wanted to comment on, and we have a diverse group who go from like executives to like technicians. Uh,
Nice.
so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be, I want to say, the first time I've moderated a panel, which
What?
I think so.
What?
Now I think about it. Man, I'm just so used to being the one demanding the spotlight and talking.
It's going
That
to be
we
hard for you not to throw in your opinion here and there.
Well, we had like a prep call, and they were
Yeah?
like, "All right, Andy, so when do you want to go off on a topic?" And I was like, "Guys, I'm the moderator." They're like, "No. We'll
Do
set
they
you up.
realize
You
what
can
they're
make it."
asking? Do they realize what they're asking?
Yeah, I was like, "Well, I could probably take the first 10 minutes before I introduce you guys. Like, I'll just monologue it. But no, I don't think that's what FCA was looking for. So I'll be talking about, as I said, zero trust architecture, and we'll see where the conversation takes us. But I'm mostly interested to check out AFCEA TechNet. I've heard a lot about it as a conference, and I had no idea it was so big.
Hmm.
It's surprisingly large scale. So I'm
Nice.
pumped about that. But that unfortunately means we can't be live today. I'm sorry.
Wah, wah, wah. Well, meanwhile, I'll be on another webinar at noon. So by the time that this gets posted, I'll be wrapped up with the other webinar with the Supply Chain Now family. So it's just a day of action. One of these
Just
days, you and
some
I will
busy
actually like do
people.
work. You
Uh,
know?
I'm actively avoiding that.
Are you?
I,
Today was a Monday
in
of
a way.
Mondays, man. It was a
Yeah,
Monday. I mean,
yeah.
without going into details, it was a Monday of a Monday, and I'm still trying to open up a PDF that has been locked by the American Welding Society because I didn't open it
Oh,
properly, and so now I've spent $224 on a bricked thing. So it's still
well,
Monday.
sorry
By
about
the
that.
time that
Yeah, it
everybody
is.
watches this, it's going to be Tuesday, and let's hope that Monday is over.
Today's been such a Monday. Tomorrow could also be Monday.
Don't say things like
Be
that.
careful. Be careful
Please
what you
don't
wish
say
for.
things like. So speaking
Um,
of Mondays, would you hate to be this guy?
um, yeah. There's a number of reasons I would hate to be this guy. But, I guess maybe the first case of someone being charged in this way. So, in short, everyone can read the text on the screen. I'll read it to you. Um, the Justice Department's charged a Chinese national with using a drone to photograph a shipyard where we're building nuclear submarines. And to me, this really crosses the like, when does it become illegal kind of a thing? And drones are so prolific now. It's interesting. This can't be the first time someone's flown a drone somewhere where they probably shouldn't have to take photos of something they shouldn't have. But I guess the challenge here is this person's a Chinese citizen, and the suspicion is this is an act of potential espionage.
You see the was it the DJI drones are being banned? Did I remember that correctly?
No. Oh, okay. That's
Um,
interesting.
I don't know. I think it's the
Hey,
DJI
an
drones.
NPI, that's a CUI type. Um, so I, hopefully the drone was FIPS validated, in which
That's
no
a
harm, no
really
foul.
good point. That's a
Yeah.
super good point. Well,
And if it calls home to GCC high, all is well. The insinuation here is it was unlikely that was the case. So uh, that said, as you read through the story, it seems like the case isn't totally clear. That it's like, oh, he got caught. He admitted to it. This is, as they're
yeah,
saying
I
here,
don't know. Call
potentially.
me crazy, but and maybe this is totally like, he's got very bad luck. I don't think what he did was, but man, when everybody's on heightened alert right now with this kind of stuff, I wouldn't put it past anybody. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, if it truly was him just being, wrong place, wrong time, and doing something stupid, first off, he's a moron because he's not hyper aware of what the hell are you doing? I don't care if you're Chinese, American, Irish. I don't care what you are. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you
yeah, you,
doing?
you should know that you're opening a can of worms that's not going to go well.
No.
At the end of the day, some feds are going to knock on your door if you're flying drones near where they're assembling nuclear submarines. I think that's just a given.
Yeah.
Maybe a
I don't
naive
know.
kid.
And I think that it's maybe worth watching. Um, the presumptive candidate, Trump, I think one of his pushes for immigration reform, as he was making noises about saying he wants to, I'm going to butcher this, but something along the lines of um, allowing citizenship for foreign students, the international students that graduate from a U.S. university. I'm hearing this and I'm like, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I'm like, whoa, time out, time out. Nope, nope. Because every time you turn around, you hear of some Chinese national or some national getting into trouble, and they've had all sorts of research resources done at
Yeah, I mean that's certainly been a big strategy of
yeah.
Chinese government. Honestly, I think the biggest crime is what was just shown on the screen there. If you scroll
Oh,
back down a little bit,
oh. Which one?
right there, yeah, right
Oh,
about the middle there, toward the bottom of this paragraph. Like I think the biggest crime here is what he describes himself as a startup manager on LinkedIn. Okay, come on. Everyone's a startup manager. Everyone's in
a
stealth
thought leader.
mode.
Thought leader.
Everyone's getting ready to kick off a funding round. We get it. Everyone's running a startup. You built an app in your intro to comp sci. Cool. Anyway,
Well, we took that opportunity just to roast some guy
sorry,
that
we
was in
just
the
roasted
wrong
some poor.
place,
Yeah,
wrong time. This poor
but
guy,
should have known better.
a
You
hundred
silly
percent,
goose.
should be arrested for being a dummy.
Yeah, lesson learned. Or maybe we're totally wrong, and he was like actually feeding it to the Chinese government. In which case, like,
And then screw that guy. Yeah.
yeah,
Then arrest
yeah,
him,
yeah.
throw him in
Sorry,
jail. Right.
sorry
Throw away
about
the
your
key.
luck. I'm
100%.
not sorry. Feel kind of. It has been a Monday. You and I are both like we're ready to go. We're ready to throw that. I don't think anyone should cross either of our paths tonight. I'm going to drive to
I
the
don't
store here
think
in a minute.
so
No one better
either.
cut me off, or I'm
Nope.
going to get arrested. So
Yeah, no.
anyway,
Nope. No, that's what I said to my husband. I was like, hey, you mind if I go upstairs and record Dip Dive with Andy? And Matt's like, yep, that's fine. You're good.
yeah, if that's what you're doing, that's
It's
what you're
fine.
doing.
It's
Hey,
fine. Have a good time.
smart man.
Yeah, oh, very much. Very much. Yeah.
You hit a home run on that one. Pun
No
intended.
kidding.
As
No, on our
another
on
hero.
our third date, he said to me, I just want you to know that you're never gonna be wrong. And I called my best friend from the car, and I was like, he's the one.
I
He
mean,
was like,
that's
because he goes, even if I'm right, I'm wrong. I was like, holy cow, you're right.
he gets it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, smartest man.
Yeah, definitely.
So, speaking of smart, You see
Not
this?
this. What? Sorry.
It's a really bad segue. Sorry. So the submission for OMB review, I had to read this like 4,000 times before I understood it, and maybe it wasn't
Still
meant
not
for
sure I
me.
get it.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's poorly written or if it's just a user error and I'm not that smart, but it could be a mix of both. I don't know. Level 2 certification assessments, I guess DoD is kind of resigning themselves to the fact that the average burden per response, in other words, what it's going to take to get ready for a level 2 certification assessment for CMMC, 526 hours. Am I
Well,
reading that right?
yeah. I was gonna say you're rounding up a little bit. It's
Well,
525.955.
okay.
Boy,
All right,
thanks for the 955 though. You could just say 526.
I'm gonna say 5. Oh, sad. Okay, he'll be back. 526. So
They kicked me off.
I did kick you off.
They did.
I was getting ready to get on the soapbox about 526 hours. I was pulling up a calculator so I could tell you how much that was gonna.
I was talking smack and they kicked me off. You know what? Well played. Good. Let's do some math.
Let's.
Well, I
525.
like the annual burden hours. So I guess that's the
All right.
526 times the 10,942. What do you think
Okay.
the going rate for like an hour of someone's time who can competently put together a level 2 certification package?
All right.
What do you think the going rate is?
That's a loaded question because if I tell you anything less than what Sentinel Blue, you'd be like, "Oh, well,
Yeah.
damn, that's
Whoa, it's
money
way
on
higher, way higher.
um,
Let's say 250. Call it
all right,
250 an
okay,
hour.
that's fair. That's fair.
All right.
I mean,
So,
that's not fair, but I'll deal with it for purpose of.
well,
No, I'm just kidding.
I'll get you
250 is good.
You'll
I
get
kind of
249.955. Well, no.
hell yeah, friends and family discount.
If you just, I guess, I don't know. If you take the annual burden hours and you multiply it by 250, which I don't think is an absurd rate, it's kind of the going rate. It's like $1.4 trillion.
Oh my god.
So I think these numbers are all, it's like whose line is it anyway?
Right.
The numbers are all made up. They don't matter.
And the points don't matter. Yeah.
Right. No one is, this isn't a serious, I don't find it a serious scientific process that's produced all this. Average burden. Okay. How'd you come up with that?
Yeah.
Who'd you ask? Who responded? How many hours did they calculate? Did they is anyone accurately counting or paying attention to it? I think everyone's just throwing darts in the dark.
Yeah, but I think that it does recognize that for all the talk about how, NIST 800-171, these are things that you should have been doing all along, I think we're finally coming around to recognizing that there is burden to implementing CMMC. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know that anybody has actually admitted that yet. It's always been, well, these are things that you should have been doing. This is just the assessment. And then I've always been the one to argue, yeah, but you're paying for the assessment, whether it's 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever, that's a chunk of change. Now there's another layer. Now finally somebody's like, well, you know what? It takes effort to prepare for this. It's like, you don't say. So I don't know. If I'm interpreting this right, as crappy as it looks, I'm actually happy. I'm happy that we have acknowledged it and called it out.
Yeah, well, that's just part of it. So I guess this whole thing is just a supplement.
Yeah. Well,
that they've added, right? So this is supplementary information. They also get into like some of the meat of level 2 certification assessments and talk about EMAS and more of the process and tie it to 32 CFAR 170.17 and just they're adding text, I guess, to the rule.
Well, I think this is the notification that it's on OMB's desk, and I was told this is basically the indication that the final rule is anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks away.
Which lines up with the timeline I've been hearing, which was September, October. It's actually a little faster.
Yeah, which would make sense for lots of reasons. But hey, look, you could even submit a formal comment to this, so you have a month if you are so moved and you are listening to this and you're like, what? 525.955 hours. It shouldn't take you that long. It should take you 13.
526.955 hours. Just don't even. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like tired of all this. I have no reaction anymore to anything here other than just like, can we just get on with it?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
numbers get thrown around. It's going to cost what it's going to cost. You don't know. No one seems to really know because it's different for everybody, and we still need to see what the program's going to look like. But you know, your cost, Allison, could be double what we're planning if they keep in the rule that all security protection assets will also need to be FedRAMP moderate or equivalent. Like, who cares what numbers you guys have produced here if we still don't have clarity on architectural foundational pieces like that? And until we do, we're all just we're really on something. We're all just pissing in the wind,
Yeah.
right? I mean, call it what it is. Until we have the final rule, we really know where some of this stuff is going to settle. We're just wasting our time, and we're eating up a lot of oxygen in our industry and in our niche, in our space. You know, hand wringing over how this program's all going to pan out. We're going to know when we see it. That's kind of it.
If you're on the Discord and you follow Crashmaster, he's always telling us that the final rule will solve all and give us all of the answers. He's been saying that for 8 months now.
He's probably been sleeping great. That mantra in his head as he closes his eyes. You know, it's okay. It'll all be okay. They're going to answer everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be comfortable with the fact. I don't think the opinion, the fact that it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a show of a certain sort. It's not going to be a good show. We're going to have to do all kinds of scrambling and whatnot. But again, as I always say, like, reason will prevail through all of it. And as long as we all act in good faith and with good reason, I think we'll all be okay.
I hope so. Speaking of being okay, I know this article.
We're getting it from every direction now. Yeah, I've noticed like everyone's weighing in on this, and I was talking to someone recently who's in a very non-DIB world. They're sort of like DIB adjacent, and even they were talking to me and weighing in about like, oh well, we know the defense industrial base needs to get its act together. I was like, damn, they're really getting that message out, aren't they?
Well,
so now we're getting it from Axios.
Yeah, but I feel like they're saying things that people were saying in the early days that we have tried so hard as a small business group within the DIB to get people to understand that's not the way to go. So the National Security Agency is telling Axios, oh yeah, most defense contractors think they're too small and inconsequential for nation-state hackers to target them. And they're wrong. It's like, oh my gosh. The average small business, first off, China's not sitting there going, I'm going to go get Acme, such and such. Chances of them saying this. I mean, what are the chances?
Yeah. Well, it's pretty low.
Unless you're out on the media saying, hey, everybody, my name is so-and-so with Acme.
Yeah, unless you do like a weekly live
munitions.
stream or something with your security company that supports you and talk about how you're ready for...
Oh, that's super awkward.
Maybe we shouldn't release this.
Maybe we shouldn't really.
Well, yeah, it's... When you sent this as something to, that we could discuss, first you and I were both kind of like, eye roll, yes, we get it. We know there's a threat. We know small business isn't doing enough. We know. At the same time, like, China is not coming after every small mom and pop shop. They want to get as close to their objectives as they can, and their objectives are typically going to be big data from big contractors who have the full, compilation of what they're interested in, whether it's the full drawings or, everything to build their own next gen fighter. Yeah, if you're in that supply chain way, way, way down in it, sure, you may end up a target, but they're not starting with you, right? They're starting here and working their way down. Now they may eventually find their way to you, and I think we are seeing that because the big primes who have, large sums of money with which to build cybersecurity programs and defend themselves have done so and have become much stronger in their posture. We are seeing adversaries target further down the supply chain. Just the tone that a lot of this sort of article comes at it from frustrates me, and I think it frustrates you too. Just like, the way they talk, like small business, we're not doing our part. We need to do more. Or they're trying to say like this is it's a new threat. Like, guys, we've been dealing with this. We know this.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think there was some conversation too that was happening in industry not long ago about NSA's offerings. They do a bunch of free cybersecurity tools, DIB CS program. Obviously all these things are great and helpful, but it's not as simple as just throwing something in the lap of a small business and saying, "Here you go, figure it out, Godspeed." Aren't we so good for helping them? No, it's wonderful to expose and to offer resources, but if a small business doesn't have the resources or the expertise to implement and carry those things on and forward, all you're doing is just making them aware of something that exists, and God help them if they know how to use it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's an interesting problem that I'm all over this, and I was just talking to someone today a bit about this who suggested, essentially the NSA should be creating these big shared socks that we all tie into, and or like they sponsor it, and it's like private industry, but private industry pulls it all together to have a couple big security operations centers that we all share, so that we're not all having to spin up our own socks and capabilities. And kind of, yeah, okay, I get where that could come from. I just don't know how realistic that is in practice, just from like the standpoint of what a minefield of data protection and data and or like intellectual property controls and whatnot. Doesn't seem super viable. At the same time, the NSA, thanks for doing something. Something's better than nothing. I get that. I'm not going to poo-poo on the government providing free services of some kind, but
right.
Often you and I get frustrated, and a lot of our industry and community gets frustrated. Like, it's not a panacea. Oftentimes it's like, hey, we made this service available to you, or we'll tell you about your vulnerabilities, and that's great. But the real challenge in vulnerabilities has never been the accessibility of scanning. It's always been the ability to do something with those scans, understanding, like if someone sends you a scan result and says, hey, your firewall is vulnerable, you need to upgrade to firmware version 13.45. And you're like, okay, let me go look that up. And the manufacturer's got instructions for, well, you need to put it on a thumb drive, you need to boot into this certain mode and all that. And you're like, guys, I get parts out the door. What are you doing to me?
I would so break something. Yeah.
Right. And so threat intelligence and vulnerability scans, as you and I have said ad nauseum, directly to the NSA's face, everyone should know, like, we've had the opportunity to give this direct feedback. Like, thank you for offering this. But by the way, nobody in the small business world, save for a select few, are going to receive that and have any idea what to do with it. So it's not this amazing thing. It's cool stuff, and I guess certain people can make good use of it. I will say the NSA really has been pushing hard on this lately.
Yes.
I get a monthly magazine from the NDIA, National Defense Magazine. Every month for like the last 6 months, NSA has a whole page ad on the back. It's like,
that's
we're
so
here
funny.
to help.
If you're part of the NDIA and the NSA is advertising to you, to me it's wasted dollars. Like, if I'm in the NDIA or NDISAC, I already know about these things. I wish that the NSA would start looking at different ways to, and maybe they're already doing this, looking at different ways to reach small business and meet them where they're at. Like, go to some of these chambers of commerce. The chambers of commerce are where some small businesses are. I'm pretty active within the Cobb Chamber of Commerce. Anytime I mention something about cybersecurity, I have a bunch of people ask me questions that are in small businesses that have nothing to do with the DIB. So I feel like we can reach people if we meet them where they're at. And a lot of times, small business, it ain't an NDIA magazine. I hate to say it. It's just not. It's going to be making parts, National Tooling Machining Association.
Yeah, this is such a, I feel like I could honestly, you could spend a career trying to solve this problem. And I'm sure there are people who are spending their careers trying to solve this, and I'm glad someone is. But the challenge of what you just brought up, of reaching small business, it's a conversation I'm having every day. And it's some days I'm just like, I could be a farmer. I could move to Alaska, or middle of
Don't.
Montana or something like. Just it, it's a big problem. And in 2024, which I had to go look at my calendar for a sec down the bottom right of my screen. I was like, is it? What year is it? That's where my brain's at. In 2024, it's just, man, we've been having this conversation since I can remember, my career of just trying to get people to give a damn about protecting their digital estate, which is now their whole company and their crown jewels. And I'm just getting a little tired of the lack of progress, whether it's our industry's inability to like properly communicate and get the buy-in, but also the small business community, or the business community writ large, like the lack of seriousness with which they take it, and the sort of flippancy to assume it's just something that the nerds take care of, or whatever, and not something that, to be a small business owner, leader in 2024, that it's a core competency you have to develop, the same as I've had to learn about taxes and sales tax and payroll and HR. Like, that's what I've had to learn about. You need to learn about and understand cybersecurity at a basic level.
Yeah.
And the crazy part in all of it is just like the basics. You could start there, and it's starting to get a little frustrating almost to hear people be like, "Well, I don't know where to start." Why haven't we honed a message on here's where you start? Not start with this effing framework and spreadsheet and all this. Like, start with these 5 things. And in fact, I think the NSA might have even produced it, or the FBI. A number of years ago, I had this sheet printed out for a long time that I loved as a reference. It was like, here's just like the top 10 things on a 2-page handout. I was like, damn, if everyone just grabbed that, and if the DoD sent that out to everyone, was like, here, do these 10 things, and that's what we're going to start assessing against. We'll put all the contract and legal stuff aside, but do these 10 things, or do 7 out of the 10 things.
Yeah, right.
Do something there. Like, it could have been so much better than when we've actually ended up. Anyway.
No, you're right. You're right.
I told you I wasn't going to soapbox tonight.
So it's as if they took shop class out of a lot of high schools and stuff, and for a long time we've focused on sending kids to college instead of giving them the option of trade schools and all that, right? I wonder, maybe we need to have a class that goes into high schools, not only bringing shop class back, but bring in like an entrepreneur class and make it a requirement for anyone. Like, make it a core class, and in that class you have to balance a budget. In that class you have to create a security game plan for your business. You have to learn basic tax law, like just basically don't do something that's going to put you in jail. Wouldn't it be fascinating to equip the next generation with, here is, if you decide to go off and do your own business or start your own business, or if you go work for one, you need to have some context. My best employees are the ones that treat WinTech like it's theirs.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that if we're successful, then everybody's successful. They see what I drive. I'm not pulling money out of the company.
Yeah, I always tell my team, like, we're not building yachts over here, y'all. Right. We're doing what we need to do to grow and all that. Yeah, you would love to see in our political arena someone to push for this sort of thing, as opposed to just buying into the political culture war of the day. High schoolers should be equipped with basic computer skills outside of the joke of a class I might have taken in high school. It was like, oh, we're going to type in Word. Cool. That didn't help me. I didn't learn anything from that. How we learned, or what honestly helped me learn, was the fact that the security at our school computer systems was bad. And we figured out that you could use net message to make a message pop up on all the computers in the school. Right. So we weren't being taught any of that. We were trying stuff out, and I can't take credit for that. I can't remember the kid's name who did that, but that was awesome.
Shout out to that kid.
Yeah. I think his name was Michael something, but good job, dude.
Nice.
But that was the kind of learning, was because they didn't do a good enough job of teaching us. We were like, we're going to hack this because you guys don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But equipping kids with basic computer capability in 2024, and man, this is such a biased take. I'm sorry, it's a bias, but like, must have cybersecurity training in high school. There must be a cybersecurity class.
I
Like,
don't. You know what? I don't think that's biased at all because even in your day to day, you need MFA when you log onto your bank account. You need some sort of identity protection. When somebody texts you and says, hey, click here for your UPS package, you need to be smart enough not to click the damn link. I don't care who you're working for.
well, not just like that sort of cybersecurity awareness. Like everyone should get
Yeah.
that, but almost like the world that our next generation of kids is going to be coming into is so digital compared to
Yeah.
when I was in high school. Yeah, MySpace and
You're
all that was
so
around, but like,
old. Listen to you blow when I was in
know.
high school and I had to
I'm
walk
gonna
uphill
move over
both
here.
ways in the snow.
Yeah. Boomerism aside, it definitely, like, the world that they're coming into is so different and so advanced, and it's not going to slow down. It's only going to get massively more difficult to parse things like
Yes.
misinformation,
Yep.
to deal with things like AI in the workplace. No one seems to be preparing college kids for this either. Shit, even kids coming out of cybersecurity degree programs don't come out properly prepared. So maybe we shouldn't trust the high school level. I don't know. You're turning me into pessimistic over here now.
All right. Well, okay. Let me turn it back and get you on a good. All right. I told you I had a question for you. And I wasn't going to tell it to you until it was like you were just going to have to think on the fly. Okay. So it was all a good segue into this question. All right. You're going to have you play pretend for a minute. Okay. You have just been elected. All right. You have just been elected President of the United States of America. Congratulations, Andy.
All right.
What is your first
exactly how I imagined it?
What is? You made me lose my earbud. What is your first executive order related? No. What is your first executive order?
Ooh. Okay. Well, let's assume that my first executive order is anything other than release all the alien files. Assume that I've already done that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Or at least maybe they're going to give me the scary briefing that we all imagine happens when you first get elected. They're like, all right, so we're going to tell you how it really is. Okay. The guy unzips and he's like, I'm a lizard and you work for us, right? I'm sure that's what happens. That aside, because of the world I'm in, I'm like, pause CMMC, and I'm going to do a ton of damage just by issuing that. But what I'm going to say is, like, we're trying to do too much. We already can't grasp it properly. The scale of this is not going to scale in a reasonable time frame. By the time you've gone through the entire DIB with one pass at a CMMC level 2 for everyone that handles CUI, we're going to be a generation behind in capability. Right, so I'm going to do my thing and be like, I'm going to take the 5 biggest things and be like, go make sure everyone's doing that. Can you please, DOD, DCMA, whoever we're going to vest the power in, can you just go to every contract that holds our CUI and evaluate whether or not they're using multi-factor authentication? I don't care about anything else. Tell me how you're patching stuff and tell me about multi-factor authentication, and let's throw in phishing training and protection for a bonus. Like, go cover those, because you know what every breach that I've been involved in or read about in the last 5 years has been failure to do one of like those 3 things. Is Volt Typhoon a thing, and do we have to worry about APTs and all? Yes, we of course do. But in the meantime, while we spent 6 years preparing for that, getting a whole program together, because this is what NIST, the scientists over at NIST, prescribed for everyone to do, and we've achieved nothing. My first executive orders could be like, nope, get off of that. Let's focus on triaging the massive bleed right now. We'll get to a comprehensive health outcome for the cyber health of the DIB, but very much like in my medicine career, I'm not worried about managing your high blood pressure when you're squirting blood out from your open artery. Like, start there. We'll hold that. We'll get pressure. We'll get you to a surgeon to fix that. Then we'll talk about putting you on a beta blocker potentially, right? We don't need the whole playbook of how we're going to manage your health from scene of emergency to discharge to what your physical therapy and all that's going to look like. By then you're going to be dead. There's going to be no blood left. You'll have bled it all out. So that's my cybersecurity executive order. What's your first executive order?
Disband the SBA.
Oh, you're on the warpath. I love it.
I would completely redo the SBA. Disband it as it is and reform it under completely different people, completely different mission. Oh, yeah. It'd be, yeah. Not that
You
I've
know
thought
what else
about
I'm
this
going
or
to do?
anything.
I'm going to
What?
leave NATO and rejoin it twice. We're going to be NATO twice as hard.
You showed
Really
them.
ruffling feathers.
Man, you showed them.
You know what? That's
Well,
vote for this. You know the Sauer Giddens ticket. We're not going to tell you which one of us will be president. It's going to be a surprise. You just
yeah.
vote
And hell,
generally for the
maybe we
ticket.
swap. Maybe we like one day you're president, one day I'm president. One day, like we could keep
Yeah,
mixing. Can't we do that? I mean,
I'm pretty sure. I mean, if you're president and you're like, I quit,
right,
then
right.
I
Or
become
hey, I need a
president. But
vacation, or
can't I appoint? Like, how does that work? If the vice president, becomes president, isn't there like
right.
an appointment for a temporary VP, and
Well, I
we'll
could
just
say
appoint
that
each
I'm
other?
like temporarily indisposed or something, right?
That's right. Yeah,
Like
and you could
I'm
be
not
like,
of sound mind. Like I could be drinking heavily and be like, oh, I shouldn't be making any decisions with my finger on the red button. Here, Andy, you take over.
that's a great loophole.
Yeah.
We could just get away with co-presidency. All
Hell
right.
yeah. All right.
So we have a couple months till November to sort this out.
Yeah.
In the meantime, CMMC, the final rule should hopefully come out.
We'll see.
If it doesn't, and you vote for us in November, we'll be sure that it never does, and we'll replace it with something much cooler.
To our DoD friends, this is not a. This isn't something that you did. It's not you. It's us.
Oh, 100%.
100%, it's us.
This is and it's Monday. That's
It is.
mostly what this is.
It is. Well, it was fun talking.
Yeah, it was. Hopefully, everyone has a great day. Again, sorry we won't be able to join you live yet again. It's always me. It's not Allison.
No,
I
sometimes
apologize for that.
it's me.
Very,
I'm the
very
problem.
infrequently, but we're both something of a problem.
Yeah, we really are. We really are. All right, well,
it was fun.
It was. So that's signing off on the DIB dive. Thanks for joining us. Catch us on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern on LinkedIn. We'll see you soon. Bye.
See y'all.